NASCAR's All-Star Week is underway. Memorial Day just around the corner. The racing world is buzzing, and Wind Tunnel is ready to rock. We'll welcome Brad Keselowski, who qualified for the Sprint All-Star race in the most controversial fashion possible. Controversy has followed him through his first season with Roger Penske. So, is all of that behind him now? And how does it feel to be next year's designated driver of the legendary Blue Deuce? As the Indianapolis Motor Speedway cranks up for the 94th running of the Memorial Day Classic, we'll talk to Little Al about his 2 500 victories, about the one that got away, and about that day he tangled with the Intimidator in the Daytona 500. And what do you think of the idea of a $20 million bonus for the Memorial Day double? Win the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. It's the month of May. Let's go racing, boys and girls.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral.
I'll tell you folks something. I admire your smarts. You have picked a great night to tune into Wind Tunnel, unless, of course, you're one of those folks who watches every Sunday night, in which, of course, you're extra smart. Tonight, we're going to be talking to the two-time Indy 500 winner, Al Unser Jr., and to Penske Racing's Brad Keselowski, perhaps the most controversial driver in NASCAR this year. Now is the time to call if you want to talk to Brad, 866-W-TUNNEL. Still the phone number, but changes. The website is now speed.com, not speedtv.com. How long will it take me to forget that? Adjust your favorites list accordingly. The live chat is up and running right now. That is also at speed.com, and the email address becomes windtunnel@speed.com. Adjust your contacts accordingly. You can also hit the Wind Tunnel page on Facebook. Let us know what's on your mind. We're going to get to the hot topics right now because we've just got an awful lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Behind the bass player. Last week it was Hamlin. This week at Dover, Kyle Busch pulled off a Joe Gibbs Racing NASCAR Nationwide and Sprint Cup sweep. Shrub got the gimme when day-long dominant Jimmy Johnson sped off pit road on the last pit stop, finished 16th. Kyle up to second in points behind Kevin Harvick, who finished 7th. And other than running a couple of weeks early, it was kind of a normal Monaco Grand Prix. The pole sitter Mark Webber won at a walk. Watch his teammate Sebastian Vettel nip Robert Kubica for second at the start. And that's your podium. There were a host of crashers on the narrow streets, as usual. And your point leader, Jenson Button, done blowed up. Fernando Alonso impressed me from last on the grid. He finished 6th. On to drag racing, Heat Good Mojo. Last week's guest, Ashley Force, beat her dad today at Atlanta Dragway to make the funny car final, and then ran out of mojo. Lost to teammate Robert Height. Besides Height, Larry Dixon, Jed Coughlin, and Andrew Hines won the Wallies. The newest woman in racing success story, Elena Myers on the inside a week after her high school prom, beats the boys in the Super Sport race at Infineon Raceway, first female to win in AMA Pro Road Racing. In yesterday's American Superbike race, Josh Hayes finally got his first win of the year. Race 2 airs tonight at midnight on Speed, and I ain't no spoiler. Finally, Helio Castroneves fastest on opening weekend of practice for the 94th Indy 500, but Bruton Smith made the headlines, revealing Thursday a plan for next year to pay a $20 million bonus to any driver who can win the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 on the same weekend. The idea for the big bonus actually came from the new IndyCar CEO, Randy Bernard, and it's not ready to be announced. I have no idea how Bruton's premature exclamation may have affected the process. More later. First, your reaction. Golden Corral question of the week. What do you think of a $20 million bonus for a driver who wins the Indy 500 and Coke 600 on the same day? And who do you think is capable of doing that? You see, it's a two-part question, but you're smart enough to handle that. What's your opinion of the idea, and who has the stuff to win the money? Again, the new email address, windtunnel@speed.com, chat at speed.com, Wind Tunnel Facebook page, or call 866-W-TUNNEL. Let's go to the phones. I got Rob on the line, Robinson, Illinois. Rob, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, Dave. Last week you had the question, your greatest memory of Indianapolis.
Yes, sir.
And my greatest memory, there are so many with the great drivers.
Yep.
But the legend from Troy, Ohio, setting on the infield wall, crying his eyes out when he qualified for the greatest spectacle in racing.
That would be Mr. Hewitt, by chance?
Yes, it would.
That's one of my all-time favorites. I covered Indy for a little while in the early days of the IRL. It warmed my heart to see Jack Hewitt live that dream, and he remains one of my all-time favorite drivers. We got a bunch more of those favorite moments coming up later in the show. You folks really lit up to that, but right now I want to get on to Monaco briefly. There was a little controversy there at the end of the Grand Prix today, and it comes in the form of the email. Michael Schumacher finally shows signs of getting his act together, and the stewards penalize him. What's up with that? The green light was clearly on when he passed Alonso, signed NFOF, which was revealed elsewhere to mean no fan of Ferrari. One of the 4 safety car periods this morning ended when the pace car pulled in on the last lap, and once past the pace car line, Michael darted past Alonso to finish 6th. The confusion because of Article 40:13, which clearly says that when the safety car pulls in on the last lap, there will be no overtaking en route to the checkered flag. So the green light at that point is irrelevant, even though it is certainly confusing. Mercedes has appealed. Now, still to come on Wind Tunnel, what was going through Al Unser Jr.'s mind after he and Emerson Fittipaldi collided, crashing out Little Al from his chance to win his first Indy 500? We'll ask him about that. How did Little Al become a NASCAR driver? Well, I'll find out shortly. And a third of the way through his first full season with Roger Penske, has Brad Keselowski made nice with all those drivers and fans who were saying bad things about his driving? And are we really supposed to believe a $20 million bonus will send NASCAR drivers flocking to the Indy 500? My take on this week's Question of the Week, coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral's Great American Seafood Tour. It's all part of the dinner buffet, all for around $10. And brought to you in part by Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicles, now at your local dealer.
Friday. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series takes center stage during All-Star Week. And we're there as the world's toughest trucks battle under the lights in Charlotte. It's a full-on, no-holds-barred steel cage match where sparks will fly, metal will be crushed, and tempers will boil over.
Oh, wow!
Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, North Carolina Education Lottery 200, live from Charlotte, Friday at 7:30 Eastern, presented by Toyota, only on Speed.
Hey JD, you see my drink anywhere? I'll keep looking.
Where does Carl Edwards get his power? Subway low-fat $5 footlongs like the tempting oven-roasted chicken or Black Forest ham. They fuel him up for amazing performances. Subway, eat fresh.
Found it.
Special props to those who rode KLRs on Cherokee Chuck's hooligan ride at this year's Tour de Teleco. I was worn out just watching the video, which I'm sure you can find at KLRworld.com, KLR650.net, or YouTube. And thanks to Electro Joe for that killer collectible. I'm going to give you my take on this $20 million Indy 500 Coke 600 bonus thing, and then I want to hear yours. It's a fun topic. It's going to generate some short-term buzz, perhaps beneficial to all concerned. To understand why it won't happen, read Friday's Speed.com debate in which Tom Jensen beat Robin Miller like a drum, ticked off all the reasons this idea is a non-starter. I'm going to summarize a couple of them and add a couple of my own. First, the very fact that Bruton Smith took Randy Bernard's idea and blabbed about it here on Speed tells me the team effort needed to make this happen is not yet in place. Two, I expect to wait a long time for the Ford and Chevy announcements that it's okay for their NASCAR drivers to drive Honda-powered Indy cars. I'm dead certain no Toyota driver will be allowed to do that. Kyle Busch. Three, Sam Hornish, most accomplished IndyCar driver in the last 15 years, 30th in NASCAR points. Nobody believes IndyCar drivers are going to line up NASCAR rides capable of winning the 600, though somebody like Good Morning America might, with a straight face, ask Danica if she thinks she can do it. No, this is all about getting Stewart, Gordon, Johnson, Kane, maybe Montoya, though I wonder if America would really care, and of course Junior, to run Indy and pump up interest in the 500. By a vast majority, by a vast margin, this is a better deal for IndyCar than it is for NASCAR. So why does NASCAR want to make the deal? I envision very Bill France-like conversations reminding his heroes that they have multi-million-dollar contracts, big houses, and fast jets because they are stock car racers. It's in their best interest to remain stock car racers. I also agree with Jensen. The only way this makes sense for NASCAR is if there's some end game in which the France family ends up owning the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Put me down as skeptical. But for the sake of argument, let's say lightning does strike. This really does happen. Some NASCAR driver, without even taking time off from his day job, puts together a one-time effort and goes and beats all the established IndyCar stars in their biggest race of the year. Tell me again how that's a good thing for IndyCar racing? Randy Bernard is a breath of fresh air with a great approach to his new job and a lot of great ideas. This isn't one of them. Okay, I had all that written down. And then I talked to Randy today. He don't want to say much publicly. He's still working on this deal that's supposed to still be a secret, Bruton. But I'll tell you this, he's a persuasive guy. I still believe every word I just told you about why the $20 million thing won't work. But after talking to Bernard, I'm kind of starting to hope I'm wrong. All right, that's what I think. What do you think? Check an email just in. $20 million to win Indy in the 600. I love it. But if JL Jr. drives Indy cars as well as DW thinks he drives a Sprint Cup car, he'll finish at least 20 laps ahead of the field, says Mike in California. Take that, DW. And why is it always about Junior? Let's go to line 6, David in Indianapolis. David, you want to weigh in on this subject?
Hey now, Dave, you do rock.
Thank you.
Listen, how about Brad Kay at Penske? You know, he got Rick Mears to help, Sam Hornish. He's got the energy. He's got the youth.
You see Sam Hornish as a potential winner of the $20 million?
No, I'm saying Brad, but Sam could help and Sam, it's an idea putting Sam in there. But I think Brad could, he's got the youth and
Brad Keselowski, Penske driver, could get in a Penske car at Indy and do the business. We'll ask him about that. He'll be coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Got time for one more? Let's go to let's do this one. Jesse in Charleston, South Carolina. Jesse, welcome. What's up?
Not too much, man. Dave, long-time listener. What's going on?
I'm just doing my Sunday night gig. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, my thing is the Formula One race in Monaco.
Yep.
They let Lewis Hamilton know that his brakes were failing, and he complained about it to his team.
Yep.
And he caught a lot of flack for it. But if I was in his shoes, I'd do the same thing. Halfway through a race, brakes shouldn't be failing on a $300,000 brake setup.
Meantime, the crew left something in the intake of his teammate's car, and it blew up. Yeah, not a great day for the team. And as far as Hamilton's reaction, I think that's much ado about nothing. They jumped. Hobbs defended him on the broadcast, and Varsha and that other guy, what's his name, Matchett, kind of jumped on Hobbs about it. Hobbs is the guy who's been in there driving the car, been there, had those radio communications. I thought that all the complaining about Lewis was kind of overdone. Let's see. With a little help from Golden Corral, let's do this. Let's see who helped himself to happiness this weekend. Did I hear a cow? Dover Trucks. I love it when all the folks ahead of me in the buffet line just move out of the way. One after another, the front runners run out of fuel on Friday, leaving Eric Almirola to help himself to happiness. But it was no gimme. Earlier, the winner had to battle back from 2 laps down from a flat tire. You remember from Eric's visit here a few weeks ago that he didn't get to celebrate his first NASCAR win. He definitely celebrated this one. Congratulations to you, kid. All right, speaking of Brad Kay, up next, this would be the moment that Keselowski qualified for NASCAR's All-Star race, his first Sprint Cup victory. But almost a year later, it was Keselowski who went airborne in a feud that started with that Talladega crash. So, if Brad could have done anything differently, would he? The Cup All-Star and current nationwide point leader joins us after the break. And a little later, what does two-time Indy 500 winner Al Unser Jr. think about Cup drivers running that, Indy Classic? We'll get his reaction to Question of the Week and his thoughts on the current state of IndyCar racing coming up. Next Sunday, four-time Cup champ Jeff Gordon will co-host Wind Tunnel. Email questions to windtunnel@speed.com or post them up on Wind Tunnel's Facebook page. We'll also check in with Robin Miller. He's going to be telling us all about the Indy 500 qualifying. Note that we will air an hour later than normal next week, 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't you dare miss it. In honor of Jeff's appearance, Motorsports Authentics offers you a couple of opportunities to win an autographed Jeff Gordon diecast. Check this out. If you score the most Super 7 Sweet Points next week, you'll get the autographed number 24 diecast with the Honoring Our Soldiers paint scheme that will run in the upcoming Coke 600, serial number 24, and with the new spoiler instead of that wing you see right there. If you score the most Super 7 Sweet Points the following week, including your Indy 500 and Coke 600 picks, you'll get the Jeff Gordon Levitator diecast and base. The 24 will thus float freely forever in the room of your choice. To play, go to speedtv.com, click on the Games tab, register for Super 7 Sweep. Make your picks by Thursday night at midnight. It's free, it's easy, and we got us some cool prizes. Let's go to Ryan in Clinton, Kentucky. Ryan, what's your opinion on a $20 million bonus for Memorial Day?
Well, first of all, let me tell you something you haven't heard in 30 years. You're having a good hair day. Next thing is, don't you think it's relevant?
Don't I think it's...
Hello?
Don't I think it's irrelevant?
No, I mean, well, don't you think 6 years from now it'd be more relevant for the 100th running of the Indy 500?
If they paid the bonus in 6 years. That's going to be a weird deal because what they're going to do is celebrate the 100th next year. They're going to celebrate the 100th, 100 years since the first running. The race obviously didn't run in World War II and World War I. So the 100th anniversary of the race and the 100th running of the race are going to be, 7 years apart. Do I think it would be more meaningful to do it that far down the road? The whole point of doing this is to pump up the series at the moment and try to get the race to its 100th running.
Well, I think it might take that long for Tony Stewart to lose a couple of pounds.
Ooh, I'm glad you said that, not me, thus being able to fit back into an Indy car. You were expecting Brad Keselowski because I said he'd be here next. He'll be here later, we hope. There's a technical difficulty with the satellite. Last week, we don't worry about that. We just blast. We keep going. Last week's Golden Corral question of the week. Ask for your favorite Indy 500 moment. A lot of you picked Danny Sullivan's spin and win in 85 at the 500. We discussed it with Danny at length last week. Then there was my favorite email for this week.
Dave's favorite email.
In the early 60s, when I was very young, listening to the 500 on a small portable radio, hearing the announcers paint a picture of the race in words, AJ, Parnelli, the excitement, the drama, I was hooked forever, says Vin Pizzo. My favorite email because I had virtually the same experience. I've told this story before. No racing background in my family, no idea what attracted me. But in the late 50s, there I was, fiddling with the dial on the family station wagon during the camping trip to Lake Keoma, hooked on Sid Collins, Freddie Agabashian, and all those other voices of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Network. I have loved the 500 ever since. In fact, the sights, the sounds, the pomp, the pageantry of this 99-year-old classic struck a popular chord with our audience. Here's Andy Gathormson's favorite moment. Ryan Patton, meanwhile, likes this favorite 500 voice. Or the Bobler version thereof. Elsewhere, Lynn Jordan writes, Jim Clark, first winner in a rear-engine car, has to be the most historical moment, unquote. A tunnelhead named Dana votes for any A.J. Foyt win. There were 4. Why? Because he's A.J. Sam Farmer's favorite, Mario finally winning 69 on his 5th try. Led to Michael Knott's favorite, quote, the look on Mario's face when Andy Granatelli kissed him in victory lane. In a more recent vein, Jamie A. Carr nominates his favorite moments, being close enough to watch Elio climb the fence all 3 times, and the crowd going wild when Danica took the lead with just 10 to go back at 05. And finally, Sam Hornish passing Marco en route to that incredible 2006 finish. But Jamie's ultimate favorite, taking his 7-year-old son to the race last year. In the car on the way home, just before he dozed off, he asked, Daddy, can you take me again next year? I like that too, Jamie. And emphasizing that the 500 spans and connects so many generations, my favorite moment was when my dad, Johnny Parsons, won the Indy 500 in 1950, and I wasn't born yet. That from Patricia Parsons Vidance. And there is a shot of Johnny, and we're proud to count his daughter among the tunnel heads. Finally, Brad in Redding, California, one of many who voted for this Al Unser Jr. moment, an Indy 500 favorite, and a good way to head to commercial, knowing that little Al himself will join us right after the break, assuming that things proceed as planned. There's our guest.
Saturday night, the stars come out and the gloves come off for the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race on Speed. And with $1 million on the line, it's checkers or wreckers. But some of NASCAR's biggest names, Montoya, Biffle, Burton, and Edwards, aren't in the show yet. They'll get one last chance to fight their way into the All-Star Race in the Sprint Showdown. It all starts Saturday night at 7 Eastern.
Only on some. When I think of value, I think of Wrangler. Always have.
Wrangler Jeans Company. New looks, priced right.
You can pay more, but you won't get more.
Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
Is racing in your blood? Do you or someone you love dream of getting behind the wheel? Think it's too hard to get started? It's not. With U.S. Legend Cars International, the fun and thrill of racing is within your reach. Anyone can do it. With over 1,500 tracks nationwide, find the one nearest you at uslegendcars.com. It's easier than you think. Put yourself in the driver's seat. Call 888-882-8722 or go to uslegendcars.com now.
Ah, yes. Where are they now? One of the most recognizable names in American motorsports. The brothers Al and Bobby Unser combining for 7 wins in the Indy 500. And then Al Jr. adding 2 more for a family total of 9. No other clan in Brickyard history even close to them. It was quickly clear that little Al had the right stuff. His '89 battle with Emerson Fittipaldi, a legend. They collided with less than 2 to go. Al crashed out. But the youngster earned the admiration of legions of new fans when he saluted his rival the next and final time by a gesture of respect, one racer to another. 3 years later, little Al edges Scott Goodyear in the closest 500 finish of all time. And 2 years after that, he and Fittipaldi, now his Penske Racing teammate, nearly collided again. This time, Emo crashed trying to lap little Al, who went on to win the 500 en route to his second kart championship. Then there was the IROC championships, a pair of them. And remember 93? Driving a Hendrick Motorsport Chevy in the Daytona 500, came from the back, cracked the top 5, and then crashed after contact with one Dale Earnhardt Jr. And with that, it is a pleasure. I'm sorry, with Dale Earnhardt, don't you dare call him Senior. My apologies. Right. And with that, it is a pleasure to welcome Al Unser Jr. You don't mind being called that, do you? To Wind Tunnel. Nice to see you, Al.
Not at all. Thanks for having us, Dave. It's taken us a long time to get here.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back. The last time, I think, was, 04 at the time of your retirement. Yeah. Let's start with last week's Golden Corral question of the week. We asked the fans their all-time favorite Indy moment. I'd certainly be interested in your take on that. With your history at that race and your family's history at that race, what was your favorite Indy 500 moment?
Gosh, I have a lot of them.
Sure.
I guess my favorite one has to be pulling into victory lane after my first win. You know, that Scott Goodyear had me going all the way around for the last 10 laps, and you know, it was a dream of mine that came true. You know, with all of Dad's 4 wins, I never went to victory lane, and so my sisters got to go in 1978, but and then I was in the race in 1987. So. Right. You know, I never been to victory lane, and so we finally got to go in 92.
A lot of people cited your speech that day on ABC that expressed so much emotion and spoke so eloquently to what Indy means to the Unser family and to you. They thought that was a favorite moment, too. Fast forward to this week's question of the week, the opinion of the fans on the $20 million bonus for the Memorial Day double, win both the Indy 500 and Coke 600. What do you think of that idea? Does it have any kind of legs?
Well, I really don't know. You know, it's in its planning stages and so on, and you know, Randy did mention it to me, you know, a few months ago, and you know, honestly, I think racing is racing, and so. You know, I think NASCAR can help IndyCar. I think IndyCar can help NASCAR. And so, you know, with the IROC series not being there anymore, The two drivers or two series, you know, they don't have anything to really mix things up, and so you know, honestly, it could have potential. You know, I think there's still a lot of planning that needs to be going on in the future with the heads to be, but. You know, like I said at the beginning, racing is racing, and I can tell you, I enjoyed running in the IROC series. I enjoyed running with the NASCAR boys a lot, and so, you know, if we can get it back, you know, like in the 70s, the Yarboroughs, they came up and they raced the Indy 500, and so if we can make that happen again in the future in any way, then it's going to help both series.
That crossover was a great part of history, to see the drivers who did so many different things back in the day. Beyond IROC, I mean, you took a crack at NASCAR, drove for Rick Hendrick in that 93 500. You were teammates to Rudd Schrader and some rookie kid named Jeff Gordon. How did that come about?
It came about really just from me winning Indy in '92. And Valvoline wanted a presence at Daytona, and I wanted to run the Daytona 500. I always did, and I wanted to do it with a first-class team, and so we were able to hook up with Rick Hendrick, and quite honestly, that's why Jeff Gordon's my favorite NASCAR driver today, is because I was teammates with him his rookie year. So
that was a heck of the run from the back up to the front before the tangle with Earnhardt. Did I have it right in the introduction in '89 after you and Emo tangled in the 500 and you went over? This is the wreck after you tangled with Earnhardt. I need to move forward because we've got a commercial coming. You tangled with Emo and you went over to the track and there was the applause and the thumbs up. What was going through your mind? What what message were you sending with that gesture?
Honestly, it was the fact that he was coming around to get the checkered flag, and you know, I went out there to give him another gesture. And,
well, that's what I wondered.
And I looked, and I had a moment of clarity, you know, thanks to God, and it was a few seconds of reflection of the day, and Emerson had led all day long, and I came up and tried to steal the 500 away from him, and we were doing it, but you know, the good Lord saw it different ways. So I congratulated him on his win.
That's a big thing to do, just a lap after it ended up in the wall. We're going to take a commercial break, head that way with another example of Unser success. This is one of, count them, 6 Al Jr. victories in the Long Beach Grand Prix. He killed them out there just time after time after time. That was a tangle with, who is that? Mario Andretti, I believe. We'll be right back.
NASCAR Hall of Fame enshrines its first class of inductees. Sunday, live on Speed.
Welcome back. My guest, Al Unser Jr.'s family has been racing for most of 100 years, starting at the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, the first race up that famed Colorado mountain in 1916 to promote the newly built road to the top. By then, Little Al's grandfather, Jerry, in the center, and Jerry's two brothers, all of whom went on to race, had already been up the unfinished road on a motorcycle with a sidecar. The family went on to win Pikes Peak more than 25 times, including Al Jr.'s 83 win in a rear-engine sprint car. Al is our guest tonight. We're pleased to have him. We always assume that second-generation drivers, Al, are influenced most by their fathers. You're actually the most successful of the third generation of the racing Unsers. Were there other members of your family who perhaps influenced you as much or more than Big Al?
Quite honestly, my cousin Bobby Jr. He started racing go-karts when I was already racing go-karts, and he came in. I didn't have an older brother, and so when Bobby Jr. stepped in and started racing go-karts, and then he was the first son really to go up to Pikes Peak from Uncle Bobby and start racing and so on. But he was a big influence on my racing, sure.
How's your dad doing, by the way?
Dad's doing great. Actually, he's back home. He's spending full time at the Unser Racing Museum, and so we're truly following in Dad's footsteps. Still to this day, I'm a driver coach with the Indy Racing League, and Dad's home full time running the museum. It's good for him.
That's great to hear. It's great to see you doing so well. You've talked openly about your battle with substance abuse after the years of racing success. By every indication, you've won that battle. What's the most important thing you learned from that experience?
That I haven't won the battle. It's a day-to-day process, and you know, it's something that's ongoing, and I guess I'm just truly blessed. To be honest with you, I was blessed with the problems that I had, because it's totally changed my life from the way that I used to be to the way I am today, and I'm just so thankful and grateful for each and every day. It's great to be alive, and it's great to have the job that I have, which is being able to help the rookie drivers, being able to talk to Randy Bernard about things going on, Brian Barnhart. I'm able to really help, and that is truly a true blessing. So.
Yeah, it's great to have that experience to call on too, from the league standpoint. You did so many different things. We talked about the versatility of the drivers back in the days. Sprint car, Super V, won the Can-Am championship, beat the likes of Danny Sullivan. I got a Formula One question from Christopher DeHardy that came in on the Facebook page. He says, "What went on when you tested the Williams Renault, and how close were you to having a drive in Formula One?"
I don't know. I had a great time. I spent 5 days in Estoril and with the Williams car, and we came pretty close. You know, Frank liked me. Patrick Head did not like me, and so I ended up not going that direction. But honestly, you know, growing up as a kid, my dream was to race at the Indy 500, and so that's where all of my dreams were. Now, once I did that in '92, then I opened it up to Formula One. I went over. You know, we did well. You know, I outrun Patrese, who was the team driver at that time, but my destiny wasn't to go into F1. So.
This is impossible, but I'm going to do it anyway. Could you give me in 20 seconds any advice that you would give the IndyCar series to get itself back where we'd like to all see it be?
Quite honestly, I think it's on its way back to where we all want it to see, which I believe its heydays was, you know, in the 80s and the early 90s. I think it's on its way back there. Izod has come on as the major sponsor, and they're doing things that are truly outside the box of what we normally do. We had a great event at Long Beach this year on Hollywood Boulevard. We had Mark Wahlberg there as a celebrity. He's going to do a celebrity golf tournament this year in May, and they're thinking outside the box. Actually, we're taking our product to the fans that not normally are race fans, and so it's an exciting time, and I believe that IZOD, the IndyCar series, the IRL, they're all doing everything they can to make it happen, and I think in a few years it's gonna be there.
On that optimistic note, we will say thank you very much for your time tonight. It's great to see you, Al, and have a great month of May. Head to commercial with a quick reminder. Tonight on Wind Tunnel Extra, we're going to be taking more calls about this idea for a $20 million Memorial Day double bonus. And anything else you want to talk about, live via streaming video, speedtv.com. Starts moments after the TV show is over. Oh, $10. He said speedtv.com. It's now speed.com. Have we found Keselowski? Did my people get up there and fix that damn satellite? There he is. Hey, Brad, thanks for hanging with us through the technical difficulty. We'll talk to you in about 2 minutes.
You got it.
Pop quiz. What did Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards, Juan Pablo Montoya, Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, and Martin Truex have in common? They are all chase-level drivers who have to go through this year's NASCAR Sprint Showdown just to earn a spot in the All-Star race. Showdown starts at 7 Eastern on Saturday night, live on Speed, and of course you can watch all the action live on Speed. It may be the best field in history, and the desperation level will be high. Only 2 Showdown drivers transfer to the Sprint All-Star race. That means several of those guys named will not be in it. The All-Star race, too, that I mentioned is live on Speed. My next guest is qualified. It's going to be his second All-Star race thanks to that controversial victory at Talladega last spring. It was only his 5th Sprint Cup start. It's a pleasure to welcome Brad Keselowski back to Wind Tunnel. Brad, thanks for your time tonight, and thanks for hanging with us through the technical difficulty. We appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. Not a problem at all. Thanks for all those fans for hanging on. Sorry about the rainstorm. Knocked out our connection.
That's the way it goes. You can't see it, but I want you to know that last time you were here, you talked about how cool it would be to have your diecast on the set. We got the 12, we got the 22, and next year's ride, the Blue Deuce, all sitting here. Let's start with the Sprint All-Star race. Wide open, no points event, history of wild and crazy fender bashing, billboards all over Charlotte advertising a backyard brawl. You in it for the second time on the year that the NASCAR says, have at it, boys. And you with sort of the history that you bring into this race. What kind of thing are you expected to be part of next Saturday night? How's it going to go down?
Well, it's going to be a show, I can promise you that. I would not expect to bring a lot of cars home, and hopefully we can be the guy that brings home the trophy. So we're going to do all we can. You know, you got to be there at last segment, and it's going to get rough, so stay tuned.
I see a direct connection between the big Atlanta controversy when Carl Edwards intentionally wrecked you and your car went airborne. There were a lot of people who were saying, Brad's way too aggressive. He's made a lot of enemies in the garage area. A, do you think that's true? B, did the Edwards deal put any or all of that to rest? And C, if it didn't put things to rest, are you worried about somebody taking a shot at you Saturday night when they've got nothing to lose, basically?
Well, I guess to answer your first question, yeah, I'm aggressive. Absolutely. That's what's got me to where I'm at. If I wasn't, I'd be sitting at home, complaining about not having a job. So, I can't argue that. But, as far as any changes in my style, no, I mean, there hasn't been any changes. I haven't been in any controversy lately, but, it's actually kind of nice watching from the sidelines. Got to watch the nationwide race and Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin go at it, and I started to realize why it was so much fun for people to talk about. So,
and it's fun when they're not yelling at you, right?
Yeah, and they're not yelling at me. It was, I had to tell Robin Pemberton it was the first. So, it's kind of cool to watch, and I can understand why the fans enjoy it so much.
Well, how do you feel about the reaction to your first, however many Cup races? You and I talked earlier about the fact that in the 2 incidents that were made, that people made such a big fuss about, Talladega and the earlier crash or the earlier incident with Reynolds at Atlanta. Clearly, in both those cases, in my view of the video, he came down across your nose, and you ended up being the bad guy. And I defended you here on that. I'm not defending everything that you've done in your racing career, but I just wonder if you think it's a fair rap or a bum rap. Brad Keselowski is too aggressive and has not earned the respect of the other drivers.
Some of it is certainly fair and called for. I think it grew legs because it was established drivers. And part of the reason why it was established drivers saying that is that they were struggling and looking for excuses. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm not ashamed of anything I've done. I feel like I can always do things better, but I'm certainly not ashamed of it and still don't feel like I'm at fault.
So every rookie goes through a learning experience. Are there guys you go to for advice? I mean, I'm thinking about Dale Jr., helped you a bunch earlier in your career. Your teammate Kurt Busch, who knows a thing or two about controversy and being played off as the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Did you go to them for advice? Are there other guys you go to for advice in that garage area?
Well, it's really hard to ask other drivers what they think because, they have hidden motivations, or I guess really not even hidden. Every driver expects the same thing out of you, because I get that question a lot. What do you think other drivers expect of you? Well, that's simple. For me to get out of their way. That's what they want. They want to be able to pass you easily.
There's a man telling the truth.
You're never going to get a clean answer from them. So, if anything, I talk to people that I feel like are objective, whether that's car owners or crew chiefs or even spotters. I do a lot of talking with spotters, and just kind of try to get a general poll or consensus from them, because I feel like I can kind of trust them a little more.
Gotcha. We'll take a commercial break on that, and I'll move on to other subject matters involving this young man who's had quite an eventful career and a great deal of promise in the Sprint Cup Series.
I'm Roger Curtis, president of Michigan International Speedway and a fellow race fan. There's only so much time and money to do the things you really love in life. That's why we're making sure your time at the track this summer is better than ever. MIS is dedicated to delivering exciting NASCAR racing and a great escape with friends and family. You've earned your fun this summer, and MIS is committed to making sure you get it. We'll see you at the track. Michigan International Speedway. It's your speed.
Select IZARD IndyCar driver. Driver selected. Tony Kanaan. Select race transport. Mission finish first. The fastest drivers in the world. See who wins at racetotheparty.com.
Keselowski for the lead. Brad Keselowski won this race.
Brad Keselowski's won a bunch of races since he's gotten into NASCAR. And, Brad, I guess you were able to hear at the top of the show, we had a caller who, in response to this $20 million bonus idea for the Coke 600 and the Indy 500, says Keselowski's the guy that could go do that. He's driving for Roger Penske. Who better if you're looking for an IndyCar deal? What's your reaction to that idea?
I think he read my mind.
You think he read your mind?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it came out, it was kind of funny. I was doing an appearance with Sam Hornish Jr., and as soon as it came out, I picked Sam Hornish's brain for about a half hour on what it took to win Indy. And I left that conversation thinking, the second I feel like my Cup cars are capable of winning the Coca-Cola 600, I'm going to come calling to Roger and see if I can get a ride. So, absolutely. There's only, really, the only people that I feel like can do it, or only drivers, are the Penske drivers. Because, the crossover between Ganassi, he's got the whole Chevrolet deal over there. Yeah. I don't think they'd ever let him do it. But Dodge seems to be really cool with us. They let us do what we want to do, and I really respect that about them. So the second I feel like I have an opportunity and cars and team capable of winning the 600, absolutely I'm going to ask Roger if I can do it. So I would say, if anything, that question worked, or that idea worked just from that standpoint. I'd love to do it. The thing is, and although it might be somewhat controversial to say, even though I'm from the Midwest and have a lot of appreciation for Indy, quite honestly, I think the 600 is harder to win. So, I might be a little biased being a stock car guy, but if there's one team to do it for, it's Penske Racing, and I would love to do it. So I hope you're listening, Roger.
Let's talk a little bit about your Cup stats. First, 7th, and 6th in your 5th, 6th, and 7th races or something. It was phenomenal. An amazing start. Then the inconsistency that you kind of expect of a rookie. And lately, a lot of consistency, between 12th and 16th, 6 of the last 7 races, 18th today. I know that's not where you want to be, but the fact that you're there consistently, is that a sign of progress in your mind?
Well, before you can do anything, you have to have consistency. So, as a team, all of Penske Racing, Kurt had his win in Atlanta, and, we ran 5th or 6th legitimately there until the incident. We run the same pretty much every week. I led laps at Bristol. Kurt had a shot at winning the race, finished 2nd or 3rd, and we finished like 11th or 12th. So we seem to all run together. Just as a group, we need to be better. So we're working on that. It's not anything that I'm worried about. We knew that we're going to have to work together, and quite honestly, there was a large rebuilding process during the off-season where we made several key personnel changes, and we're still going through it with the sponsor changes, with Shell coming on board. Then I'm going to go drive the 2 cars. So many changes going through the company, but they're all really good changes, and we know it's going to take time accordingly. So with the 12 car specifically, and with my team, with Jay Guy, the crew chief, and everyone else here at Penske Racing, we know we're making progress. Our next step is, now that we have consistency, we need speed. So that's certainly something we're working on. We have a platform of things that we feel like we're going to roll out over the next month or 2 that are going to raise our speed and competitiveness. And we need a little bit of help from NASCAR because when you're behind, and I don't think anybody here would argue that we've had times where we were behind. When you go through the process of catching up, you have to get different parts and stuff approved from NASCAR, and quite frankly, we've had a hard time getting that done to catch up with the things that I know we need to beat Hendrick and Gibbs. So we need a little bit of tolerance from them to get there, but we can do it. We've got the right people, and I feel really good about it. So I think time will tell.
We'll leave it there with a good luck for the All-Star race. Thanks for your time. Don't back down to those guys. Hang in there. We like watching guys who stand up for themselves. Brad Keselowski, ladies and gentlemen, in the All-Star race Saturday night. It'll be 9 o'clock live on Speed. We'll watch those guys battling at 7 o'clock trying to get into the big race. We'll be right back.
When I think of value, I think of Wrangler. Always have.
Wrangler Jeans Company. New looks, priced right.
You can pay more, but you won't get more.
Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is presented by Golden Corral's Great American Seafood Tour. It's all part of the dinner buffet, all for around $10, and brought to you in part by the IZOD IndyCar Series, the fastest race in the world.
For your first time at a Grand Prix. Oh yes, it's very fantastic. I'd like some tacos and burritos.
Time is gone. Get well, Brian Vickers. Next week, Jeff Gordon co-hosting the show with guest Robin Miller. You do not want to miss that one. Immediately after this, we're going to have the Wind Tunnel Extra, Jimmy Spencer, calling in. What's the deal? Thanks for being here. I'll see you over at speed.com in a minute.